We're going to look at programming a drum pattern in Ultrabeat and the different ways that we can do that in Logic. Okay, so Ultrabeat is a plugin designed specifically to create drum sounds and to program drum patterns. It integrates all the classic drum synthesis techniques like phase oscillators, frequency modulation, ring modulation, etc. Okay, and it has sample playback and a step sequencer as well, which also can be used. So in the next exercises, we're going to choose an existing drum kit and program a drum pattern using Ultrabeat. So we're going to look at choosing a drum kit and previewing drum sounds first. So before you start programming a pattern, you need to choose the drum sounds you'll be using. So in Ultrabeat, you can load a drum kit made up of 24 drum sounds plus one bass sound that you can play chromatically, one semitone at a time. So we're going to insert Ultrabeat on a software instrument track. Okay, so we're going to choose a file new in Logic, so Command N, and an empty project, and we're going to choose a software instrument, and we're going to tick the Open Library box and create. Okay, so a software track is created, and we're going to click on the channel strips inspector slot and choose Ultrabeat. So just down here in the input section, we're going to choose Ultrabeat down here. Okay, and that opens up the Ultrabeat interface. Okay, so at the right of the plugin window, on the title bar, we're going to click the button just up here. Okay, and that shows or hides the header. We can hide the header just to make more room. Ultrabeat's actual interface comprises of three main parts, as you can probably see here. The assignment section, which is this section over here, is where you can assign drum sounds to MIDI notes and adjust each sound's volume, pan, mute, and solo settings. So we've got here, mute, solo, there's the pan there, and the volume we can change as well. Okay, so we can do all of that from here. The synthesizer section over here is where we basically we can tweak the parameters of the selected sounds we've got over here in the assignment section, and the step sequencer down here, down the bottom, is where you can program a sequence for the selected sound. Okay, so to the left of the assignment section, a thin keyboard, you can see it just here, extends vertically, and in front of each key appears the name of the sound assigned to it and the sound's number. Okay, sounds are numbered 1 through to 25 from the bottom to top. As you can see, there's a little 25 there and a little 1 there. Each sound area also has a blue volume slider, a red mute button, a yellow solo button, and a pan knob. Okay, so yeah, you can see that in there. So we're going to just listen to some sounds. So if you click a key on the vertical on the virtual keyboard and the vertical keyboard over here. Turn my volume up, we can hear that. It's a closed hi-hat, or we've got a snare there, or a bass drum, etc. Okay, so we can hear it from there. If we play the lowest C on your MIDI keyboard whilst watching the MIDI activity display in the transport bar, which is down here, just zoom into that, just down there is the MIDI in section. Okay, zoom back out of that. We're going to I've got to use my caps lock keyboard, so I'm going to bring that up. I'm going to press C. So my low C is there, and it's playing C2. But if you look over here, it's actually playing a mid conga. Which I don't want, so I've got to come down an octave. And on your keyboard, you have the octave down and up button, so you can find the right octave there. And we want the C at the start of our keyboards to be this one down here. So I want to come down an octave, so I need to press this button here, which is button number 4. And now when I press C, it's activating the kick drum. Okay. So in Ultrabeat, you can see the lowest key light up, and you'll hear the kick drum when you press the C note there at the start of your keyboard. Okay, and you can just check what those different notes are just by hearing them there. Okay, so you'll see the corresponding Ultra Beat key light up and the sound assigned to that key when it's played. When you reach C3 and up, you can play the bass sound as well. So when we're up here, we're not quite there yet. If I go up and again in my octave range, I'm in the bass notes now. Okay, so that's how you access the bass notes. Okay, so we're going to click the name of sound number 2 Rimshot, just there. It's highlighted, and the synthesizer section rather, and the step sequencer update to display the Rimshot's synthesizer parameters and sequence. So we can see that it's different for each of those sounds. Okay, so let's try using other drum kits. So if we go into the library and choose 01 drum kits, we're in the library, it should be over here. We're going to choose 01 drum kits, and a collection of drum kits opens, so we can see those there, and we can see, we can choose whichever drum kit we want to. We're going to choose Big Beat Remix. Okay, so Big Beat Remix kit, which is that one there, and then it just changes to bring that key up. Okay, and that obviously has its own sound now, which sounds slightly different. Okay, so yeah, after the kit opens, the parameters update in an Ultra Beat, and the name of the kit appears in the plugins window title bar and on the track header. So we can see it up here, and then we can also see it in the track header down here as well. So that's how we know what kit we're using. So we're going to use the mouse and the vertical keyboard to play the MIDI keyboard to preview the kit. So let's find out where things are. Okay, make sure the library has key focus and press the down arrow. So I'm just going to go back to the library now, click into it so it has the key focus. We're going to press the down arrow, and we can preview all of the kits we want just like that. Okay, so let's go back to Big Beat Remix kit though. And in the library, we're going to choose Studio Tight Kit, which you'll have to scroll down to find. Studio Tight Kit, there it is. So now we've got the Studio Tight Kit. Preview that. It's a very kind of studio acoustic kit, very dry. Okay, so when the name of the drum kit appears in the plugins window title bar and on the track header, the kit is loaded. So we can see that it's loaded now. If we just try choosing another one, you'll see it's loading fairly quick. There you go, it's taking a few seconds for this one to load, and there it is. Okay, so drum kits use a lot of samples and can take a while to load, and sometimes you just got to wait. So we're going to look at now is using the step sequencer, which is a bit down the bottom here. You can use the step sequencer at the bottom of the Ultra Beat interface to program or edit patterns. We can build patterns up over time. In Ultra Beat, you can save up to 24 patterns with each drum kit. Most factory settings include some pre-recorded patterns, so we're going to listen to a few and see what they sound like. So at the upper left of the step sequencer, we're going to click the power button, which is this button here. Okay, and that turns it on. Okay, so now we know it's active, and we're going to click the play button next to the power button. Okay, so and then we can stop it there. Ultra Beat's step sequencer is synchronized to the project's and its tempo. So to toggle the step sequencer on and off, you can also press the space bar to do that. Okay, and don't hesitate to leave playback on for the rest of the exercise, or to toggle it on and off frequently when you listen to your results. It's perfectly okay to do that, and it's not going to affect anything in the main window. Okay, if you choose to play the project, the playback will eventually stop when the playhead reaches the end of the project. When this happens, just go back to the beginning and press return. Okay, in the assignment section, we're going to click closed hat number 7. And the step sequencer updates show you the closed hat sequence. Seeing the sequence of a single drum sound at a time can be useful for precise editing, but it does not give you an overview of the whole pattern. So, but at the lower right of the step sequencer, we're going to click the full view button just down here, and that shows us what's going on with each of those sounds in that pattern. Okay, we can click anywhere on there to insert a grid. So we're going to click step 1 on the crash symbol lane, which is sound 14. So sound 14, 13, 14 here, number 1. Okay, so a blue square appears, indicating that it's going to be playing on the first downbeat of the pattern. In the full view grid mode, notice that downbeats are indicated by white vertical grid lines on steps 1, 5, 9 and 13 and so on. So you can see them here, 1, 5, 9 and 13 and so on. And there that indicates where the downbeat occurs, okay, at the start of each of those 4 beats. Okay, so you can also click an existing note to delete it. So on the snare lane, we're going on sound 3, we're going to click the blue square on step 8. So on sound 3 here, there you go, and it disappears. Okay, you can access the settings pattern in the pattern menu at the lower left of the step sequencer. So we're going to click the pattern menu and scroll all the way down so that you can see the entire menu. Okay, so we just go down here, next to it says pattern, and we list the pattern menu, and you can see that these are all different patterns that you can have. There's 24 patterns in total. The SQ indicates that a sequence is programmed for that pattern already. For the Tight Studio kit, patterns 1 through to 10 already have a programmed sequence, while 11 through to 24 do not. Okay, so we're going to choose pattern 2, this one there, and that's a different pattern. It sounds different. And you can choose from the pattern menu to preview other patterns while the step sequencer is playing. So we can just play it. I'm going to choose pattern 4. Okay, and it updates instantly. Okay, so we're going to look at programming a pattern now. So from the pattern menu, we're going to choose pattern 11. So down here again, we choose pattern 11, and this is an empty one. But on the kick 1 lane, which is sound number 1, we're going to click kick step 1. So just down here, step 1. A kick note is added to the full view mode. Since a kick sound is highlighted in the assignment section, the step sequencer displays the kick sequence, and a blue vertical bar appears just down here, as you can see, on step 1 in the velocity gate row. This is the velocity gate row, and I'll explain what that means in a minute. And a blue square is also highlighted in the trigger row, okay, just here. So, if you drag the pointer in the trigger row to quickly add notes on every step, or to delete several existing notes at one time. So yeah, we can do that, but we're not going to at the moment. Okay, just going to leave it as is. The step sequencer displays the entire kick sequence. So remember to regularly press the spacebar to listen to the pattern as you're building it. You can even choose to play the pattern continuously as you build it, or you can just put beats in where you want and then listen back to them as you desire. But what I want you to do is to continue entering kick notes every other beat. So on steps 9, 17 and 25. Okay, so here we go. We can put one in there. 9, 17 and 25. So every other beat. Okay, on the snare lane, sound 3, we're going to click step 5. So number 3 and step 5. The snare sound is selected in the assignment section, and the step sequencer displays the snare sequence with the snare you just entered in step 5. So we're going to continue entering snare notes on every other beat. So on steps 13, 21 and 29. So 13, 21 and 29. You can see that we're adding them in between here. We can hear that now. Okay, so there we go. Coming in every other sound. So if we can control click anywhere in the closed hat lane, sound 7. So anywhere here, we're going to control click, and this brings up a menu here. From the shortcut menu, we're going to choose Add Every Downbeat. So just here, Add Every Downbeat. And that adds one in on every downbeat. As you can see, these are where the downbeats are. And it adds one in. So we've got a closed hat happening at the same time as the kick drum there, which sounds quite nice. Gives it a bit more edge. Okay, so we're going to control click the same closed hat lane and choose Add Every Upbeat. So it doesn't matter where you do it, control click, Add Every Upbeat. And now we've got a snare happening on every upbeat and downbeat, along with the snare and the kick drums, with one in between each of those. Okay, so yeah, often drummers will open the last hi-hat of a pattern to lead back into the first downbeat of the next pattern. So we're going to do that now. We're going to click the closed hat sound 7 on step 31. So up back here, and that deletes that. We're going to click the open hat lane, which is sound 11. We're going to go up. That's the sound 11 just there, and click it. That gives us that little edge. Sounds more natural. Gives us a kind of a 4-beat flag. Okay, so we're going to look at editing velocities and accents now. So at this point, you have a basic rock pattern going. It sounds okay, but it's a little mechanical. Okay, so we're going to make it sound more exciting by editing the note velocities, which allows you to add variations in the dynamics and make the sequence more human. So you can also accomplish this by using several randomization options available in the shortcut menu. So in this exercise, we're going to insert a couple of softer kick notes and add some accents to the hi-hat and subtly randomize their velocities, the speed at which they're played. So in the kick lane 1, sound 1, we're going to click step 11 to add a new kick on that step. So step 11, just there. Okay. In the velocity gate row, the blue bar's height represents the velocity of that note, and the blue bar's width represents the length or gate time of that note. So in the velocity or gate row, we're going to drag down the top left of the new kick's vertical line, vertical bar, until the help tag reads velocity 60. So just on the left, just going to drag it down so it says velocity 60. There we go. So it's softer. Okay, and the new kick opens on the new kick note on step 11 sounds a little softer than the others now. So let's hear that. So just a little bit softer. It gives that impression that it's being played differently, and so it's more human. Okay, you can also create notes and add their velocities and their gate time in one operation by dragging directly in the velocity gate row. So in the velocity gate row, hold down the mouse button on step 27 to create a kick note and drag vertically to adjust the velocity to 60. So step 27, it's just here. Yeah, just there we go. We can drag it over, and we're just going to drag it down to 60. So we're actually creating a note straight away and just dropping it in. You can see that's represented now on there. So okay. So we're going to work with accents now. Okay, accents can emphasize specific steps by raising the volume of multiple sounds in the kit. So whereas changing the velocity of a note can change the sound sample that it triggers, adding an accent changes only the volume of the sound. We're not triggering a totally different sound, which is what we are doing when we're choosing a different velocity. So at the top of the step sequencer, you just above the trigger row is a row of LEDs where you can select steps to accent. So the accent slider on the left adjusts the volume increase of the accents in decibels. Although the accent slider setting and the accent steps are the same for all of the sounds in the drum kit, the accent switch, the blue LED to the right of the accent slider, just here, lets you toggle the accents on or off for each drum sound. Okay, so we can toggle them on or off if we want. So the accent slider obviously tells us how loud that accent's going to be. So in the accent row, click steps 1 and 17 and listen to your beat. So we're going to click 1 and 17. Okay. Okay, maybe my velocity is a little bit too loud. Let's take that back down. Yeah, and you can just adjust it to wherever you want. I'll probably take that down a little bit further. Okay, so both the kick and the open hi-hat are accented on that first downbeat of each bar. The effect sounds good on the hi-hat, but not so good on the kick. Since the kick lane is still selected, the step sequencer currently displays the kick sound parameters. So in front of the accent row, we're going to click the accent switch. Okay, so there we go. We click that off. The kick is no longer accented. We know we're in the kick because we can see it here. Got the kick selected. So I've taken it off. The kick is no longer being accented because it didn't sound right. So we're going to drag the accent slider to the right until the help tag reads 8 dB. Okay, and that way. Sounds a little bit better like that. You know, not so bad. Okay, so the difference in volume between the accented notes and the normal pitch is now a little more pronounced. Okay, so let's adjust the velocities of the hi-hat notes and add a little more randomness to make the pattern come alive a little bit. So in the assignment section, we're going to click the closed hat name, sound 7. So just up here on sound 7, click that so it brings it, makes it selected. And we're going to control click anywhere in the velocity gate row, and from the shortcut menu, we're going to choose alter velocity. So control click and alter velocity, and that alters the velocity, randomly, or alternates it to a set pattern. Okay, so the velocities are now randomly offset by a small amount. So we can listen to the effects of that. Okay. If you went too far and velocity variations sound too drastic, you can reset all note velocities to their default values. And we just reset it down here in the reset button. Okay, so remember that you made the last hi-hat an open one. Drummers like to accent that last open hi-hat to pull the groove back into the first downbeat of the next bar. So raising the velocity of that last hi-hat will accentuate that effect. So if we click the open hi-hat, sound 11, up here, and then we can see that that's there. We can add in an accent there if we want to. We can, in the velocity gate row, we can drag the open hi-hat note on step 31 up to a velocity of around about 113. Okay, let's drag that up to velocity 113. Ooh, keep the gate there. And I've accented that as well. So, while dragging a note, notice that the velocity changes increments of 2 or 3. To access every degree of velocity, you have to hold Shift and then drag the note. So I can make that much more precise by holding Shift, and dragging the note, and then it makes it much easier for me to go one velocity measure at a time. Okay, so we're going to take it down to 112, just to prove a point. Keep the gate the same. Okay. So the last hi-hat open hi-hat rather is louder, which helps lead back into the downbeat of the next pattern. Okay, so have a listen to it. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so we're going to look at changing the groove in the MIDI editor now. So musicians play subtle timing and velocity variations in their playing, adding to the human feeling of their performance that you just don't get with a drum machine. If you reproduce those subtle inconsistencies when programming drums, your results will sound much closer to a real performance, if that's what you're going for. So we altered notes and velocities in Ultrabeat, helping to make the pattern sound more natural. While Ultrabeat's step sequencer is a powerful tool to program drum patterns, it lacks some of the advanced capabilities of Logic's other MIDI editors. So in the following exercises, we're going to import the Ultrabeat pattern into the arrange area and open it in the piano roll editor and move the snare notes to change the feel of the groove. So you can insert Ultrabeat patterns into as a MIDI region in the arrange area by dragging the button to the left of the pattern menu, just down here, and I'll just zoom in on that because it's very, very tiny. So just down here where it says, and as I'm holding over it, it's saying there drag to arrange area. Okay, That's where it is. Okay, so we're going to go to the beginning of the project by going down there on our transport bar. You may have to move the Ultrabeat window over so we can see it. And so we can see the first few bars of the arrange area. Okay, in Ultrabeat's step sequence, I position the pointer over the top of the pattern button. There we go, it says drag to arrange area. And we're going to drag it in to bar 1. So there we go. And there we got it. It's a 2-bar region. It's dragged into bar 1. Okay. Note though, as you drag the pattern to the arrange areas grid, a green plus icon appears, indicating that you drop the pattern. You can drag the pattern into a specific track or drag it below the last track. If you drag the pattern below the last track, it will automatically create the MIDI region on that last track. So, a MIDI region is created containing your 2-bar drum groove. It's called Ultrabeat. We can see it says Ultrabeat there, that region. So you can now turn off Ultrabeat's step sequence so it doesn't play along with the MIDI region on the Studio Tight Kit track. Okay, that's important, otherwise it will keep playing. So we don't want that to play, so we're going to turn off the step sequencer there. And we're also going to press Command W to close the Ultrabeat window, or just close it from the top, the X. In the toolbar, we're going to click the Set Locators button. Okay, so up here, Set Locators. And cycle mode is turned on, and the cycle area matches the length of the MIDI region selected. At the bottom of the arrange area, we're going to click the piano roll or press P, and that brings us up, brings our piano roll in, and we can change the size of that if we want. And this opens and displays the piano groove that we've got. Okay, so let's open the event list to see a detail of the events in the Ultrabeat MIDI region. Okay, so in the toolbar, click the lists button or press E. And we can see what's going on there, what's happening at each of these points. The events list does not show the contents of the Ultrabeat MIDI region, or if it doesn't, we need to double click on the Ultrabeat MIDI region to make sure that it does. In mine it does. If it's not showing that, just make sure you click the region. Notice the polyphonic pressure or P-press events in the status column. So here's the status column. These ones P-press. They turn the volume up and down just before and after the first downbeat of each bar to reproduce the accents you programmed in Ultrabeat. That's where our accents are placed in terms of on our list of events and things that are happening to our MIDI regions. You can now edit the contents of the MIDI region in both the piano roll editor and the events list. When editing MIDI data, it's a good idea to keep the event list open or to monitor how individual MIDI events are updated as you edit them in another editor. With the cycle mode turned on, you'll press the spacebar in all the upcoming exercises to toggle playback on and off. So playback will always start at the beginning of the pattern and will continuously loop until you stop it, obviously in the cycle mode. So an interesting characteristic of human performance is that a drummer never hits all the drums precisely on the time grid. You can approach the qualities of a human performance by slightly changing the position of certain drum notes, either by dragging them or by using Logic's humanization functions. So first we're going to give the groove a more laid-back feel by delaying the snare notes. In the piano roll editor, we're going to click the D1 key, one note above the C1 on the vertical keyboard. Okay, so D1 is this one. Sorry, this one. All the D1 notes, the snare notes, are selected when you do that, as you can see. We're going to note the functional similarities to the range area in which clicking a track header selects all the regions on the track. It's the same thing as we do up here. If we click that, it selects all the regions on that track, and the same happens here. We're going to slowly drag the selection to the right while watching the help tag. Okay, so we're going to hold them down there. We're going to slowly drag them to the right, and we can see what's going on in the help tag. The help tag shows they are dragged from 1211 to 12181. Okay, you can see that there. Or another value depending on your zoom level. That's an 80 tick delay. Okay, so we're going to press the space bar to start playback and listen to the new groove. Okay. The snare notes are much too late and create a flam with the hi-hat notes. This almost sounds like a very bad drummer, and we're going to need to delay the snare by a smaller amount. Okay, but we need to press Shift and Control as you drag, so you can have access to a greater degree of precision. So we're going to undo that, Command Z, and we're going to hold down the first snare note, and then we're going to hold down Shift Control to drag the note to the right, and this disables the snapping. Okay, and while watching the help tag, we're going to drag that selection to 1 2 1 1 0. So hold down Shift and Control, and we're going to drag it to 1 2 1 1 0, just there, and then let go. Okay, so listen to that now. Much more subtle. Okay, so let's keep the first snare note where it is and delay the other notes a little bit more. So we're going to shift click the first snare note, shift click it to deselect that whilst leaving the others selected. And we're going to hold down the mouse button on the first selected note here, and we're going to move that selection using the Shift and Control drag to 1 4 1 16. Okay, so Shift Control 1 4 1 16. There we go. And that delays the 3 selected notes by 16 ticks. Okay, the first snare note is now 10 ticks later, and the 3 remaining snare notes are 16 ticks later. So let's listen to that. There we go. Okay, so the groove is already a bit more laid back now, and the difference in feel between the quantized snare and the new laid back snare is subtle. So let's compare the two. Okay, so comparing the quantized and laid back patterns, we're going to compare the feel of the original quantized and laid back patterns. You're going to by toggling the quantized parameter on and off in the inspector region's parameter box. So in the current pattern, the fastest notes are the 8th notes in the hi-hats. So the 8th note is the quantization value you need to choose for the region. In the region parameter box, just up here, this displays the parameters of the selected region. So make sure that the Ultrabeat region is selected, which it is. The name of your region, Ultrabeat, should appear at the top of the region parameter box, which it is, just there. Okay, and we're going to choose 1/8 note. So just there, 1/8 note. Okay. So now it's all back in time. So now we're listening to the rigid groove with the snare right on the grid. If we choose Edit, Undo Parameter Change, or press Command Z, this gives us, and you can see them move slightly more. It takes us back, and we can just listen to both of those and choose. Keep going between the two and choose which one we like. Okay, so remember though, because the last thing you did with your mouse was to turn the quantization on by choosing the 1/8 note value. The keys behave like this: undo Command Z means the quantized parameter is turned off and plays the laid back groove. Redo brings the quantized parameter back on, obviously. So there we go. That's with it off. Obviously, it's not showing up here. If I do Command Shift Z to redo, it brings up the 1/8 note up there. If I do Command Z undo, it takes it off again up there, and we can see that. Okay, so the difference is quite subtle. After a while, the laid back groove almost sounds normal, and the rigid groove sounds rushed. When the groove is quantized, the snare overpowers the hi-hat notes that are played at the same time, and the hi-hat seems to disappear every time the snare hits. But when the snare is delayed a bit, it opens space for the hi-hats, which more effectively cut through the mix afterwards. So if you still can't hear the difference, try dragging the snare hits slightly further off the grid to make the effect more obvious. Obviously, it will get very sloppy if it goes too far, and your ears will be able to turn that tell the difference. You can also turn the metronome on to listen to the snare against the metronome click. See what that sounds like. So in the transport, you can click the metronome button or press K on your keyboard. And if we just do redo, we can hear that's obviously in time. And we can hear that's just slightly off. Okay, so obviously that's one way we can change it. Okay, we're going to look at creating a snare roll using the Hyper Editor now. So in the previous exercise, in a previous exercise that we've looked at, you should have used the Hyper Editor to draw and edit MIDI CC pan events. You can also use the Hyper Editor to create and edit MIDI note events. Its ability to adjust grid resolution independently for each note makes the Hyper Editor a great choice for drum programming. So the Hyper Editor allows you to quickly enter many different MIDI events all at once, drawing them on the grid using the pencil tool, which makes it easy to quickly draw in something like a snare roll. So we're going to look first at creating a custom hyperset. When you're programming a basic drum pattern, creating your own hyperset with just the MIDI notes you will need will make the Hyper Editor easier to navigate and view. So in this exercise, you're going to create a custom hyperset that includes an event definition for each drum sound used in the pattern. You will then draw a snare roll using the pencil tool and adjust the velocities using the line tool. So at the bottom of the piano roll editor, we're going to click the Hyper Editor or press Y on our keyboards. Okay. Here the inspector updates to show the hyperset menu, a couple of checkboxes and the event definition parameter box, which displays the parameters of the selected event definition lane. Okay, we can see those there. There are two factory hypersets in the hyperset menu, which are MIDI controls, which you used in the previous session to add pan automation, and GM Drum Kit, which is used for drum programming. So in the inspector, we're going to choose the hyperset menu button and choose GM Drum Kit. Here's the hyperset menu button. We're going to choose GM Drum Kit. Okay, so it now shows the event definitions for all MIDI drum notes defined by the general MIDI standard. I'm going to place the pointer between the Hyper Editor and the arrange area and drag up so that we can see the whole thing. Okay, there we go. There's quite a lot. Let's go all the way up. We can go all the way. There's quite a lot. You can see every single drum sound there. Okay. Okay, so when you have numerous event definitions for a variety of drum and percussion sounds that you don't need, the Hyper Editor can be difficult to navigate. So we're going to create a custom hyperset. So if we click the background to deselect all notes, a few of them were selected there. We're going to deselect all of them and click in the background. And we're going to click the hyperset menu and choose Create Hyperset for Current Events. Okay, so create hyperset for current events. And there you go. A new hyperset is displayed called Ultrabeat. We can see that there. The name of the MIDI region is Ultrabeat, so it displays there. It contains event definitions only for the 4 drum sounds actually used in the region, plus an additional event definition, which is pressure C2, that corresponds to the accents used earlier in Ultrabeat. These are the polyphonic pressure events that we saw earlier in the events list. To tidy up the display, you can delete the accent lane, then reorder the name of the drum lanes. So we're going to click the header of the pressure 2 lane, and we're going to choose Hyper Delete Event Definition. So where is it? Pressure 2 there, and we can choose Hyper from the local menu, and we're going to choose Delete there. Okay, so delete event definition. Sorry, just there. Delete event definition, and it's deleted from the hyperset. The accent events are not deleted from the MIDI region. They still remain in the. We can see they're still here. We're just not looking at them in the Hyper Editor over here. Okay, so now we're working with a stripped down hyperset we can zoom in so that the 4 lanes fill the whole editor display. So we're going to click the first C1 note, just up here. The kick note is displayed, is played rather, and the C1 lane is selected. You can click the notes to trigger the sounds and determine which lane corresponds to which instrument, then rename the event definition. Okay, so even without clicking the notes, you should be able to visually identify the instruments by remembering their positions on the grid. So we've clicked that now. In the inspector's event definitions parameter box, we're going to double click the C1. Okay, so just over here, double click it, and we're going to type in kick. Okay, and now we can see that does the same thing there. Okay, and F#1 is the closed hi-hat. D1 is the snare, and A#1 is the open hi-hat. Okay, if we want to zoom in on this, by the way, we can just hold down Shift and Control, Control and Alt, and that brings up our magnifying glass, and we can zoom in on that. Okay, so we can see it a little bit better. And obviously we can use our zoom sliders down here if we want to go in further to view it all. Okay, so let's do that. Okay. Brilliant. So now we can see it all very, very clearly. We can drag the lanes up and down by their header to reorder them so that the drums are in the same order that they are in the Ultrabeats step sequencer. So let's drag the kick event definition to the bottom of the window below the hi-hat. So we can just drag it down there below the hi-hat. There we go. Drag the open hat event definition to the top of the window above the closed hi-hat. So just up there. Okay, this new custom hi set is much cleaner looking. We can see everything. We get the event definition. You have the event definitions only for the 4 current drum sounds. So with the event definitions renamed and reordered, you can tell at a glance which drum sound you're editing, and it's a lot clearer. So we're going to draw in a snare roll now. In the Hyper Editor, well, first you're going to adjust the grid resolution of the snare lane and add a single snare note in the first bar. Okay, then we're going to draw the snare roll at the end of the first bar. So in the Hyper Editor, we're going to the pencil tool is assigned to the command click tool, as we can see up here. So in the snare lane, we're going to command click the grid lane just before the second kick. Okay, so there's the second kick, and we're going to just choose that one using the command click tool there. Okay, so as in Ultrabeats step sequencer, the height of the note represents its velocity. When using the pencil tool, click higher to insert notes, insert louder notes, or click lower for softer notes. You can also drag up and down with the pencil tool to adjust velocity, and drag the pencil or pointer tool to adjust the velocity of an existing note. So we're going to drag down the new snare note to a lower velocity. Okay, so it's already on a lower velocity, but we can drag that down like that. So let's drag it right down there. Okay, so this gives a little bit of a shuffle there. It's quite nice. Drummers don't usually hit the hi-hat in the middle of a snare roll. So before you add the snare roll at the end of the pattern, you're going to delete the last hi-hat note in the first bar. Okay, so on the closed hat lane, we're going to click the last closed hat note in the first bar to select it. Okay, last closed hat bar in the first closed hat note in the first bar, which is that one, and just backspace or press delete on your keyboard. Okay, so you're ready to draw a snare roll at the end of the first bar. Okay. you first need to increase the resolution of the snare event definition grid so that you can draw a very fast snare roll. So we're going to select the snare lane there, and in the event definition parameter box, we're going to set the grid parameter to 1/48th note. So you can see here grid, we're going to choose 1/48th note. And now we can see that it's got a much higher resolution. We can add in more notes, etc. Okay, so you should shorten the new snare note lengths so that the notes don't overlap when you look at them in the later in the piano roll editor. So you're going to double click the length parameter and enter 20 to change the note length to 20 ticks. Okay, so when we look at them in the piano roll editor, we don't see them. Okay, we don't want them to be overlapping there, the actual notes. Okay, so in order to do that, we need to set the length parameter to 20. Okay, so over here we can just under where it says delay, we're going to select that and drag it up to 20. Okay, or we can double click it, I think, and just enter 20, then enter. That's better actually, because we want period 20, not 20 notes note lengths at the start. So we want 20 ticks. So double click into it and press 20 and enter. Okay, so now we can draw the snare roll. We're going to zoom in on the area after the last snare in bar 1. So here's bar 1. The last snare is there. We're going to just press Control Alt and we're going to zoom in. We're going to zoom in on that area. Let's just zoom in a little bit more, maybe, just to that area there. Okay, so there's that snare hit, and there's the first, and there's bar 2. Just want this area here. Okay, so you can adjust the vertical position of the pencil tool as you drag it to create notes of the different velocities and to generate decrescendos and crescendos. So you can now also use the line tool to create a perfect crescendo. So we can choose Escape and choose the line tool, and then we can hold down the line tool and place it just before the first note in the snare roll. Okay, so just down here. Okay, and we're going to hold down the line tool and place it just there, watching the help tab to ensure that the velocity is at 35. So velocity. Make sure it's at the right point. .35, just there. Okay, release the mouse button. That's the start point of the line, and then we're going to position the pointer just after the last note of the snare roll, so the velocity reads 100 in the help tab. We just need to drag it over, and we got this line here. Don't press down, just drag it up to just after where the last note will be, right at the start of bar 2, and we're going to make sure it says 100 in the help tag, so just drag it down to 100, like that. There we go. And we click on the end line there. Oh, that's not worked. Start line there. Make sure that says 35. And I'm just going to drag it down to 100. Oh, okay. So it's not done it. Okay, so I'm just going to try that again. It's not allowing me to do it, but it should let you. Let's just try that again. So we've got the start line there and the end line somewhere around 100 up there. No, okay. Well, you can do that. You can draw them in and then adjust it afterwards. So if you press down Command tool and choose the pencil tool, we can draw in each of those notes. And then if we go back to the start with the line tool, and we hold it down, bring it up to 35. Okay, and then drag it up to 100 there. That should adjust each one of those to the line, in that line. There we go. Okay, so we won't worry about the gate of that because we've already made sure that it's a length of 20. So so there we go. We should get that sounding like that now. Okay, we're going to drag the last note down to a velocity of 76 though. So we're just going to take this. We're going to press Escape twice to get back to our arrow tool. We're going to drag it down to 76, and it drags all of them down at the same time. Okay. If it starts a little bit too early, you can delete the first few notes of the snare roll. Let's have a listen. Maybe. Let's delete this first one. So click in the background to deselect all. And click on that one note and delete it. So that sounds a bit better. Okay, we're going to click in the background of the hypereditor to deselect all notes, and we're going to shift drag the pointer over the first couple of notes that you want to delete to select them. So if we shift drag over the pointer, so shift and drag, we can select a number of notes at once, or just one, and then we can just press delete to delete that. Okay, I'm going to delete that one so we don't have those first two notes. Gives a little bit more space. Okay, so that is basically how to use the hyper editor to adjust individual sounds for a drum kit. If you want to look into the Logic manual, there's some interesting sections on converting a MIDI sequence into an audio region and then back into a MIDI sequence as an extension to this exercise. But just for programming drums, that's most of what you need to know. Okay.